the land of the Wongal people, where I am, was among the first to bear the brunt of British invasion, and it is land that always was and always will be Aboriginal land. And I would thank you to the organisers for doing this work, running these webinars. A lot of work involved. I'd like to express my solidarity with Moira Deeming in Victoria, and with Kelly J. Keane, and with the women of Tasmania and Auckland who have been assaulted and stampeded by the frightening thuggery of trans extremism. I would also like to say that this week, I would like to congratulate World Athletics on making a ruling that women's sport in athletics is for women. And so the campaign goes on, okay? Lots of stuff to do. I am, at Janet Fraser's invitation, going to talk to you about one of the things that we could do, and could be a CTA, which is a phrase new to me, a call to action. Right, so I'm going to talk to you about the census. And I'm going to talk to you about how to make a submission to the topic consultation process for the 2026 Australian census. Actually, that is pretty easy. You go to that website address that I put up, and the closing date for submissions is the 28th of April, so you've got more than a month to do it. And you fill in an online form when you go to that website address, and you can make an individual submission or a submission on behalf of an organisation. And there's basically only 2 or 3 questions in the form that you might have to think about before you answer. What information would you like the ABS, that's the Australian Bureau of Statistics, they run the census. What information would you like the ABS to collect and produce statistics on? Is there other information you would like the ABS to collect and produce statistics on? And would you like to tell us anything else about your submission? So that pretty much covers anything we're likely to want to tell them. And you can attach documents if you want to. And so having told you how to make a submission, I want to spend the rest of my time talking about why to make a submission on to the topic consultation process for the 2026 Australian census. And that is basically because sex matters and gender ideology is a load of bollocks. The Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights tells us that data collection is one of the areas that they specifically identify in that declaration as being under threat from gender identity ideology. This is a bit from the declaration. Sex disaggregated data is data that is cross-classified by sex, presenting information separately for men and women, boys and girls. Sex disaggregated data reflect roles, real situations, general conditions for women and men, girls and boys in every aspect of society. And when data is not disaggregated by sex, it is more difficult to identify real and potential inequalities. The declaration also says, the conflation of sex with gender identity leads to the collection of data on violence against women and girls, which is inaccurate and misleading because it identifies perpetrators of violence on the basis of their gender identity rather than their sex. This creates a significant impediment to the development of effective laws, policies, strategies, and actions aimed at the elimination of violence against women and girls. And I'd add, it's not just around violence against women where sex disaggregated data is necessary. It's also necessary for example, charting the increase in older women's homelessness, or getting to grips with the nature of families living in poverty, given that the overwhelming number of them, the head of household, is female. So with acknowledgement and apologies to Tatsuya Ishida, this is my depiction of the situation in relation to the Australian Bureau of Statistics and the census. Censuses are a prime site of data collection, and as such, they're being targeted by the trans lobby. The Australian Bureau of Statistics, which, as I said before, conducts the Australian census, may be under pressure to eliminate the collection of data by sex entirely, and it is definitely under pressure to change the sex question and to pair data collection by sex off with data collection by gender identity. So we can look at the threat to eliminate the sex question first. Now, ACON, which is Australia's most active and largest gender identity ideology lobby group, is right in there at the ABS, as it is everywhere. ACON director Teddy Cork was recently a peer reviewer for an ABS article about the results the ABS got to the sex topic in the 2021 Australian census. And ACON, this is the important point, is all for abolishing the collection of data by sex. This is my evidence here. This is an excerpt from the Our Way standing submission form. Our Way, which stands for the Australian Workplace Equality Index, is run by ACON. And this is section 17. You can see it gives full points of their questionnaire on section 17 to participating organisations if they remove gender options, by which they mean sex options, from their data collection systems. Now, I calculate that the 2026 census will still have a sex topic in it, but longer term, the ABS will be under increasing pressure to get rid of it unless the gender identity ideology juggernaut is stopped. So I think it's worthwhile to tell the ABS right now that we won't have a bar of it. Ho ho, hey hey, sex data has got to stay. We can now go on to the next pressure that the ABS is under, which is to change the wording of the question on sex, or the section on sex. I do think the ABS is currently about to yield to pressure from the trans lobby to change the form or the wording of the sex topic. I think the new form of the topic they'll be proposing is likely to be sex recorded at birth or sex at birth. I think this on the basis of what the ABS has been doing and saying of recent times, and the fact that the ABS has said that they'll be looking to the 2021 Canadian census and the 2023 New Zealand census, both of which pose the question in this form. Now, sex recorded at birth, well, that is better than sex assigned at birth, and it's better than asking what sex a person identifies with. But it still means that the census has moved away from the idea of sex as a material reality. It means the census will be making it a question about a person's paperwork rather than about his or her body. So I think we should challenge it. Now, as for sex at birth, this makes it a question about a person's body, but implies that sex can change over the course of a person's lifetime, which it can't. So again, this is something to be challenged. So let's do it, hey? Now, this one is pairing sex and gender, or gender and sex. Again, I'm pretty sure the ABS will yield to pressure and go for introducing a gender question in the 2026 census. I know they're going to at least consider doing so because they've said so. The framing of the topic, or rather, you know, the combination, the pairing, is likely to be the same as in the Canadian census. This is it here, where you can see we have question 2, what was this person's sex at birth? And you get the explanation, it refers to sex assigned at birth. And then you have question 3, what is this person's gender? And then we've got an explanation of gender. And we've got male, female, or please specify this person's gender, 3 options. And this was the New Zealand census, which actually was collected this month on the 7th of March, so very recent. And we see we have question 3, what is your gender? And on the online form, you get an explanation. Gender refers to a person's social and personal identity. And then, so that's question 3. And then question 4, what was your sex at birth? For example, what was recorded on your birth certificate? Now, we can notice a few things about both the Canadian and the New Zealand censuses. And that is, the gender question is actually a question about gender identity. The New Zealand census says that quite explicitly, yeah. And notice that the New Zealand census put the gender question first. And male and female in both of these censuses are asserted to be gender categories as well as sex categories. I suppose we should be grateful they didn't use the term cisgender. But let's be clear that male and female are sex categories, okay? They're biological. They shouldn't be there as gender categories. That is, of course, sowing the confusion and the conflation and the general shambles, the general bollocks that is gender identity ideology. And another thing about these 2 censuses is that in both, these questions are compulsory. So this is different from the England and Wales census, which was carried out just shortly before the Canadian census in 2021, where the question was about sex. And then later there was a voluntary question, which was about the gender you identify with. Again, note it's when you say gender, you're talking about gender identity, yeah? Okay, so the thing is this, that making the gender identity question compulsory is compelled speech, in that it forces, in this case, an entire population to acquiesce to gender identity ideology, consciously or unconsciously. And for people like this, like us, who know that gender identity ideology is a load of bollocks, it creates a catch-22. We're obliged to answer questions under Section 14 of the Census and Statistics Act 1905, but we're also obliged to give accurate and truthful information under Section 15 of the same Act. Now, we can't do both on a compulsory gender identity question, We either skip the question, in which case we breach section 14, or we provide an untruth by saying we have an attribute that makes no sense and thereby breach section 15. What I have up on the screen is a letter recently delivered to a person randomly selected to take part in a population survey. It's not about the census, it's about a population survey, but the same provisions apply. As you can see, this person was told she was obliged to provide the information, and also that it was an offence to provide false or misleading statements or information. So again, this is the catch-22 of section 14 and section 15. So for all these reasons, a gender identity question would be objectionable, and a compulsory gender identity question even more so. And I urge everybody to tell the ABS that this is the case. Now, we already have some flickers of defiance to build on. This is a Canadian's answer to the gender question. Specify this person's gender. None. I reject gender as an oppressive social construct. I want no part of it. And I have revealed this here with permission from Mr. White, and I expect it was not the only such answer. In New Zealand, Speak Up for Women, in the lead up to the New Zealand census, ran a campaign against the gender identity question. You can see some of the things that they had a writing in campaign, and basically that was getting people to write in about the same catch-22 that we will face in 2026 if things go the way I think they might. You know, is it sort of saying, well, I can't do both. I can't answer this question and that question. And I can't be truthful. You're not allowing me to be truthful. So, that is some of the background to this. And my hope is that by 2026, the ABS will have quite a rebellion on its hands if it yields to the trans lobby. So I should say, because it's such a long lead in, this is the first round of topic consultation. Out of that, they get a short list of ones that they'll consider further. And after that, they suggest new topics for inclusion. And then it is the government that decides, makes the ultimate decision, right? And last time for the 2021 census, it seemed to be the assistant treasurer who got to say yay or nay, yeah? So the same thing is going to happen this time, but hopefully with a lot more public involvement in these first stages. I think that any attempt to get reliable data out of a gender identity question is going to fail, and that, of course, is because gender identity ideology is a load of bollocks. I think people are going to give conflicting answers because they really don't get it, and rightly so. I don't get it either, of course. People like us are going to object, and trans extremists are going to endlessly complain that their particular gender isn't listed or they can't see themselves or something. And it's just a matter of time and struggle by people like us till people realise what a load of bollocks this all is and kick it all out. But let's make sure the ABS doesn't decide it's all too hard, and so that they don't feel tempted to get rid of both sex and gender. Yeah? Let's make sure they don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let's make sure taxpayer-funded entities like the Census keep collecting sex disaggregated data because sex matters. So back to where I started, the 2026 Census topic consultation. That's the link there. The closing date is the 28th of April, 2023. You can also just Google 2026 Census topic consultation and up it comes with loads of information there. And as a last CTA, as a call to action, let's get writing, sister comrades. You know, they want it so that the only people who are going to write into them are people who want new topics included. We really want an old topic retained, which is sex. And, you know, sort of there's a case against including a certain new topic, or at least not making it compulsory. Yeah. So, you know, we should use that form for, you know, to say what we want to say, you know, not exactly, you know, giving in to the purpose that they want. Yeah.